Right, very good morning to everyone. Blessed Father's Day today to all fathers and fathers to be. Right, so when I was asked to talk today, I looked at the calendar, I was very happy. I said, wow, it's Father's Day, so I must talk something about Father's Day. Yeah? Although the idea of Father's Day started in the West, it is very meaningful to us as Buddhists. And the title of this talk is Buddha as Father. Now, one of the most beautiful quotation about Father is found in the Samyutta Nikaya. Very easy to remember, as 15.15. Chapter 15, Sutta 15. The Sutta says something like this, I've summarized it. In this cycle of samsara, you can't find the beginning of it, you can't find the end of it. And so many beings are born again and again. It is impossible to find a being. Now, the sutta says a being, doesn't say human beings, it's just a being who is not your father. Now just reflect on this. In other words, every one of us here have been fathers to one another somehow, in some time. That's why we are here today. And you're at home, you have animals, your pets, they also have been your fathers in some past life. That's why they are with you. So the lesson is to treat them all very well. The reflection here is to remind us that this samsara, this cycle of rebirth and rebirth is so long that the Buddha says, it is so long, you should be wondering, there's so much suffering to be a father, so much suffering to be a son, to be a daughter, that we want to be free from suffering. That is the reflection, right? So that's from Samyutta 15.15. Now the next thing is, you have to look at the genius of the Buddha. He is often adjusting his teachings to suit the times, especially the religions of his time. Now, one thing we know, even in the Buddha's time, there were people who believe in God, some kind of all-powerful being, creator, and so on. Even today, there are people who believe in this idea. The main problem, the two big problems with this idea, one is that it is an idea about power, which the Buddha rejects. Number two, it is not true that there's no such creator God. The universe kind of evolved, devolved by itself. So the Buddha uses this idea to help the Buddhists, or to help those people who thought that there is this God, to connect with his teachings. And he uses the idea of a father. Of course, he uses the idea of a mother and brother, sister also, but today, of course, we look at the fact that he says that there's no creator God, but who is the real God here? Who is the one who created you? Right? So he gave a very famous saying here. This is important, so I want to say it in Pali. Brahmati mata pitaro, Pubbha charyati vuchare. Okay, this is found in a number of places, in the Anguttara, a few places, in the Iti Vuttaka, and also in the Jataka. So it's a well-known saying. The meaning is, parents are God, Brahma. See, because in the ancient India, their creator god is called Brahma, the high god. Yeah? And they got many names for their god. So Brahma is one of the names. So parents are God. They are our first teachers, Pubbacharya. Now, why are they called gods? Or why are they gods? Because they are the ones who really gave us birth. They gave us life. In that sense, they are gods. So you can see the Buddha is very pragmatic. He said, well, you can use the idea of God if you like, but if you are really sensible, if you look at the meaning of God here, creator, who are the real creators? They are your parents. They created you, so you should be grateful to them. So he's very practical in that sense. Of course, the big word for this is demythologize. The Buddha kind of simplify things, make things practical, real life, what is it really in this world that you see. And our parents are our first teachers. Pubbacharya. Pubba usually means before, ancient, but here you can translate as first teachers. How are they first teachers? Now, this is a very important thing we must know about parents, about fathers and mothers. They brought us into this world. Another way you can think of this is, why should we be grateful to our parents? Number one, they gave us a human body. Without them, we won't be human. We'll probably be monkeys or cats and dogs, but we are human because of our parents. They are human. That's the first basic thing. Of course, you may say they didn't choose to do it, but still, the fact remains. We are human, our parents are human. But more important than that, they gave birth to us. They also humanize us. You can be born as a child, but if, let's say, you are lost in the jungle and monkeys raise you, within the first 7 years, you'll be a monkey. We have heard of feral children. They behave just like the animals that raised them. And there are stories where scientists have captured some of this feral humans who have been raised by wolves and monkeys in the wild, and tried to humanize them. It's just impossible. It's too late. First 7 years are very important. So our parents hold us, loved us, taught us how to be human. This is a second important thing that we respect parents for. They give us a human body, they also give us a human mind. And then after that, the schools take over. The rest of us goes to school and we are trained to be humans. And of course, religion plays an important role too. Right, so there you are. Right, we can see psychologically at least some important ideas about fathers. Now, in the case of the Buddha, of course, his father, Suddhodana, is the key character here. We don't talk much about Suddhodana actually, but today let's spend a bit of time about him. In many ways, you can say it is because of Suddhodana, the Buddha's father, or Siddhartha's father, that Siddhartha left home and became Buddha, in a manner of speaking, right? Of course, you know all these long stories about him, about his childhood, the prediction that he would, if he stays home, he would be a great ruler, a kind of world monarch like Alexander the Great, because it was a time of world conquest. It was the beginning of Indian Empire. This was the background of the Buddha's time. Very uncertain times, very rich time, very, to a certain extent, peaceful, but the kings were conquering and extending their empire. So this, the Sakyas, to whom the Buddha belongs, the father wants him to take over as the leader. Okay? But from my research, I begin to see the Siddhartha was kind of aware of what's going on in India at that time. The conquest of Bimbisara and all those empires, fighting, killing, King Pasenadi and so on. And he was not too keen. He says, all these wars, it's leading us. His father was, of course, very concerned, like all fathers. Fathers, unlike mothers, do not have unconditional love. He wants his way. Now, if you look at the Metta Sutta has only one analogy, one parable. That's a parable of the mother. Right? When you practice loving kindness, you should be like a mother to everyone, treating everyone like your children. Mother has unconditional love. Mother will love you no matter what you do. Fathers are a little bit more, what should I say? They want you to wear their shoes. I mean, only if your feet fit, like Cinderella. No? So Suddhodana was like that. He tries best to make sure, or tries best rather, that Siddhartha would fit his shoes. So he didn't hear that part of prediction where Kondanya put up only one finger and said he's sure to be Buddha. He didn't hear that part. He only heard the other Brahmins putting two fingers up. Say, if he stays home, he'll be this great king. If he leaves home, he'll become a world teacher. But the king only hears he stays home, and he wants his son Siddhartha to stay home. The name Siddhartha itself means one whose wish is fulfilled. So he wants his wish to be fulfilled, that the Sakyas will become strong, an empire. At that time, the Sakyas were under the power of King Pasenadi of Kosala, so they were not really independent. So what did he do? He made sure this young man had all the fun in life. 3 beautiful palaces, summer houses, rain house, winter house. He had all the women. I mean, if you want to believe big numbers, the Jatakas tell us he's got 40,000 women. Wow. Of course, the Indian storytellers tend to exaggerate the numbers a bit. It means there were many women taking care of him. In fact, there was not a single man in the houses. They all were women playing music and caring for him. But what the father doesn't realize, by doing this, he is what we today call flooding his son. Right? If you study psychology, you know flooding means you overdo something, you know. So when you overdo it, you know, when a young man has too much of girls, what happens? I mean, he will think, is that all, you know? Right? What makes all this dating and kind of boyfriend-girlfriend thing interesting is it's hard to get. Relationships are difficult to build up. But our young prince or Kshatriya, nobleman, Siddhartha had all these things there. Of course, this is not all. Someone to become a Buddha must be intelligent and spiritual. So he saw through all this. Of course, the father actually helped him on, you know, by giving him all these pleasures in life. As a young man, just at the right time, he felt, wow, this is all. And then he's very sharp. He looks around, he questions things, right? So he sees the 4 sides. You all know of 4 sides, right? Now, you and I, we have seen an old man, but we never renounce the world. Anyone enlightened? We have seen a sick man, we have seen dead man, we have seen monks coming here almost every week. None of you, I don't know, anyone enlightened yet? We have seen the 4 sides. But we didn't get enlightened. We might not even notice. You know? Or some of us might not even want to notice, you know, right? You know, we find in Singapore, some young people do not like old people. It's scary, you know, you're reminded that's what I'm going to become. You just don't like it. And talking about fathers, we say, yeah, happy Father's Day, but there are families where fathers are not very kind to their children. And there are families where children are not kind to their fathers. These are the reality. So there is so much to be done by Buddhists to remember Father's Day. Anyway, so this young prince, what's so different about him seeing the 4 sides? When he saw the 4 sides, he was kind of a very mature young man. He was this deep thinking person. He just questions things. So when he saw the 4 sides, it is not like the way we see it. He looked at it and then he saw the conditions, causes and effects as, wow, I'm going to become this. So what's all this wealth and beauty and pleasure about? Suddenly he had this feeling, very important word here, samvega. Samvega can be explained. Okay, samvega, the translation is something like spiritual emotion, religious feeling. We explain these words by something like the carpet has been pulled away from under you. You just don't know where to stand. What's happening here? Meaning of life is gone. Let's say all the money you work for, all the savings has suddenly gone. Wow, that's terrible, huh? Now that's samvega. So samvega arose in him when he saw an old man. Wow, I'll be old too. So what is this being young about? This idea of youth evaporated in him. He saw a sick man, say, oh, this is his idea of health is gone, evaporated in him. He saw a dead man, the idea of life evaporated. And so you can imagine how depressed he became, terribly depressed. Samvega. But then he saw the fourth side, right? This very calm person, the holy man. That was the opposite. The feeling there is called pasada. Pasada is a joy. See, when you come to a solution, you're so happy, you found something lost. Problem solved, work finished. You're very happy, pasada. Inspiration, joy. He found a way out. Okay? So you see, this is how the father kind of, in a sense, played a very important role in making his son Siddhartha what he will become, the Buddha. And when Siddhartha became Buddha, he was very grateful to his father. He returned to Kapilavatthu and he taught his father the Dhamma. In fact, to cut a long story short, in a sense he repaid his father the debt he owed his father, and his father died an Arhat. So that is the story of the Buddha and his father. Now, I have two interesting stories to tell you today. One is where a son teaches a father a lesson in goodness after the son's death. And the other story is the father taught the son a lesson in goodness after the father's death, so that we can still reach the living through, even though the teacher may be dead, the Dhamma can still come to us. We should not forget this. One of the big problems in Buddhism is the Buddha's death. You can say Buddhism is divided into two big groups. One group accepts the Buddha's death. He's human, he died, permanent, that's fine. The other group say, no, it cannot be. He's a great teacher. He cannot die. He's eternal. Familiar, right? So the Theravada, those who follow early Buddhism, we see the Buddha simply as a human being. He arose in this world and then he, through his own insights, he awakened and he passes away. And this is very important because the death of the Buddha proves his teaching right. That is why the death of the Buddha is so meaningful. Of course, the word death doesn't really fit here. It's just the way we humans see the passing of the Buddha. He's not going to die anymore. That's another way of saying it. Because Nirvana is the death-free. That's one of the ways we talk about Nirvana. So for us who follow early Buddhism, or Theravada if you like, we just have to accept the Buddha as a human being. He passes away and that's totally fine with us. We do not want to immortalize him, that he has some essence in somewhere in space, or some Dhammakaya, some kind of divine essence, and then there is this appearance of him on earth which is not real. So those teachings are quite common, but we don't accept those teachings, right? So, all right, the first story is quite a familiar one you have heard. It comes from the Sigalovada Sutta, the introduction of the Sigalovada Sutta. If you remember, how and why did the Buddha teach the Sigalovada Sutta? The teachings on the six directions and kind of the core of Buddhist social ethics. Sigala is well known because of the sutta, but his parents were not so well known. In fact, we don't even know whether his real name or not, because Sigala is something like a wolf or a jackal, right? It's just a nickname. So we only know his father's name as Sigala Pita, father of Sigala, and his mother is Sigala Mata. Okay? These are all kind of like nicknames, you know. But anyway, he's a very important person in the suttas. So he was a very playful person. Young man, he's not very interested in going to the temples. His parents say, come, you please go listen to the Dhamma. And his parents were stream winners, by the way. Stream winners, first stage saint, okay, already on the path. But the son is very playful, doesn't want to go. The son says, no, I don't want to go to the temple. Every time I go there, I have to wear white, and then when I kneel down, my white dress becomes soiled, becomes dirty. And then next thing I got to sit down and meditate. Oh my goodness, so long, And then I got to bow to the monks, and when I know them well, I got to make donations. So no, I'm not going to go to the temple, he says. I got to keep precepts, It's not too keen. So his parents were determined to make sure that he doesn't go the wrong way. So his father used a skillful means. The father told him on his deathbed, the father said, son, when I'm dead, I want you to do the midi honors, worship me in the 6 directions. Worship the 6 directions in my name. This is the last instruction the father gave. Now the father was a stream winner, but he taught his son this other strange kind of a Brahmanical worshipping of the 6 directions. He was not really doing that. It was a skillful means. He wanted something to happen. Okay, this is what happened. Now, when when the father died, Sigala has to perform this ritual as a young man who's taken over the family property and so on. So the ritual has to be done properly. You got to go to the river, dip in the river, you come out all wet and dripping, hair wet, clothing wet, and then you start bowing down to the 6 directions, supposed to be gods, but the father didn't tell him the meaning of that part. So he performed that ritual religiously. The reason? That he meets the Buddha. And the Buddha kind of knows when the right time has come, So he asked Sigala, what are you doing? And Sigala says, well, I'm, honoring my late father, and he instructed me to pay honor to him by worshipping the 6 directions. Then the Buddha said, do you really know the meaning of 6 directions? Is this the right time to ask a young man who's intelligent? And Sigala says, no, I do not know the meaning of the 6 directions. And you know the rest of the story. The Buddha told him, gave him a long discourse on the meaning of the 6 directions. And he was converted after that. He took refuge and then he became a follower just at the right time. So you see, in this case, the father was dead. And yet the father brought the son to the Buddha, although the father was dead. So this is a very interesting story to remember. Okay? Of course, you can know more by reading the details in the translation, which is found on our Dhammafera website. Okay, so that's the first story. Now, the second story is kind of, I'm not sure whether it is sad or humorous. I'll leave it up to you to decide. This is a story of a father who's at a Scroogey. His father, not very bright, unfortunately. So he's a rich man, okay? In fact, he was given the name Adina Pubba, sorry. That means one who never gave. One who has never given, so you can know what kind of person he is. So his son fell very sick. And he says, oh dear, what am I going to do now? If I go to see the doctors, I have to pay a lot of money. So he did something silly. He went to different physicians and asked them for advice. He says, oh, my son is like this, like that. What medicine will you prescribe? He goes to different doctors, so they all gave different medicine. So he got all this medicine together, he combined it and gave it to his son. Of course, the son didn't recover. The son was lying down very sick and dying. And that's the time again the Buddha knew it was the right time for this young boy. He was only 16 and the only son. He was ready for conversion, if you like. So the Buddha appears in a bright light. This is the first instance we have of holograms. No? The Buddha appears in this bright light. And this dying boy can see the Buddha. He has some connections with the Buddha, I'm sure. So he was very happy. Yes, a great faith arose in him. So when we think of the Buddha, a beautiful image, it helps us to feel peaceful. And he died. And he was reborn as a beautiful deva, heavenly being. And what does his father do? His father lamented the loss of his son, say, oh my son, why did you leave me? And so on and so forth. Right? I mean, you don't know whether to cry or to laugh at this stupid man. And the deva, the son, look at his father and say, oh no, look at him. Now that I'm dead, he cries. When I was alive, he didn't get me proper medicine. Let me teach him a lesson, okay? So he comes down, okay, he changes himself to look more human. And the father looks at him and says, this young man looks so familiar. And then this boy pretended to cry. He was also crying. And of course, this Scroogey Brahmin, he was a Brahmin, came up to the boy and said, young man, why are you crying? Why are you crying? He said, oh, okay, this is what he says. He says a beautiful verse, by the way, translated into English. I have a chariot body shining of solid gold, but I cannot find a pair of wheels for it. Through grief over this, I will lose my life. So he's saying, well, I have this chariot, but it's got no wheels. And I'm looking for the wheels for this chariot. And this Brahmin is very happy. He says, name wheels of gold, of precious stones, of copper, of silver. Name them to me, good youth, and I will get you a pair of wheels. So just tell me what kind of wheels you want. I'll give you. Because he sees this Deva, I thought it looks like a sun. And what did the son say? The son said, okay, sure, you get me, huh? Brahmin said, yes. I want the sun and the moon to be the wheels of my chariot. The father said, huh? He says, how can you get the sun and the moon? You're crazy, Okay, that's when the son hit back. He said, so you think I'm crazy, huh? When your son was alive, you went around, instead of getting proper medicine, seeing the doctor to treat your son, you got all this jumble of medicine, give it to him, and he died. So who is the crazy one now? Right? Who didn't do his job properly, right? Then the father realized, oh, this is my own son. That, he had made a big mistake. Of course, then he asked, well, how come you're born a Deva? Then the son said, well, when I was passing away, the Buddha appeared to him and so on. So you got to go and see the Buddha. So they both went to see the Buddha. The Buddha taught them Dharma, and the father changed, became a good person. And both of them kind of, let's say, have a happy ending. This is from the Dhammapada story, right? So notice here, in this case, the son who had died came back to help the father. So you can see here 3 periods of time, past, present, future, all involved where fathers are concerned. Okay, now this is where the father and mother exchange places between the Buddha and Mahapajapati Gotami. Now you all have heard of Pajapati Gotami, have you? That's the Buddha's foster mother. Remember, the Buddha's mother was Mahamaya. She died 7 days after the Buddha was born, and then the king married the younger sister Pajapati, and she became the foster mother to the child Siddhartha. Okay, so later she became a nun. So this is a beautiful poem. In fact, this is probably the most beautiful of the poems recorded in the series called the Apadana. Apadana are like the Jatakas of the Arahats, okay, past lives of the Arahats. They're full of legends, so that's why they're not very popular, not really fully translated yet. Someone has translated this, but not, I think it's available on the internet, although not as a book. So this is one of the most beautiful poems from that series, Apadana. Apadana means harvest of good deeds. So this Mahapajapati was dying. She's going to pass away, and the nuns were all kind of very sad for her. So she's consoling the nuns. She's telling the nuns, don't feel sad. And this is her verse, very beautiful. This is just a selection. In fact, her verses are very long. Apadana 2.1.7. Okay, she says, she's addressing the Buddha. O wayfarer, I am your mother, and you, O wise hero, are my father. Now she's the foster mother. She says the Buddha is the father. Notice this interesting apparent contradiction. O welfarer, I am your mother, and you, O wise hero, are my father. O giver of happiness, of the true teaching, O refuge, I was given birth by you, O Gotama. O welfarer, your physical body was nurtured by me. My Dhamma body, flawless, was nurtured by you. So, I just kind of took care of you as a human, but you gave me the Dhamma, and through your teaching, I became awakened, a female arahat, arahati. Eh? To satisfy a moment's craving, you had milk suckled by me, but I, drinking the milk of Dharma from you, had peace without end. For my raising you, you owe me no debt, O a great sage. For women desiring children, may they have a child like you. Mothers of kings like Mandata drown in this sea of existence. But you, O son, brought me across the ocean of existence. Queen Mother, Royal Consort. These names are easy for women to gain. But the Mother of the Buddha, this name is the most difficult to obtain. Right? So it's a beautiful verse that Mahapajapati kind of, showed her gratitude to the Buddha. Okay? So, you can see here, Buddhism and the Buddha has so much to say about fathers. It's a pity Mother's Day has passed. We have quite a lot of things to say about Mother's Day too, Next year perhaps, okay? Now, the last part of the talk. What should fathers do for their children? How should children behave towards their parents in a Buddhist way? Okay, here is the last part of my teaching, second last part actually. We should practice godliness, Brahma Vihara. Remember, Brahma Vihara is a very important teaching. Some people say Brahma Vihara is not important, it's the Brahmin smuggle in the teaching into Buddhism. Not true. You see, breath meditation is important, yes, undeniably, but Brahma Vihara is also important. For those who have difficulty meditating, Brahma Vihara is very important. The Brahma Vihara, the divine abodes, are sometimes called social emotions. It's got so many names. It shows how important the four divine abodes are. It is also the Buddha's response to the idea of God in heaven. The Buddha says, no, God is not up there, it's in your heart. Who is Brahma? Brahma with the four faces. What does four faces mean? Four directions. It means universal, unlimited. You cannot limit your love. That's the first quality. What kind of God is this? The Buddha says he must have love, loving kindness. Okay, metta. We don't use the word love because love is so general, so we use loving kindness. In other words, unconditional acceptance. A father is truly a father when he unconditionally accepts you. If you are a father, you have to unconditionally accept your child. You only have 7 years to mold your child. After that, time's up. The child will decide what he wants to be. We can't, nothing in the world can stop that. If you try, you're going to do a lot of harm. You have to let go. Renunciation, remember Buddhism, if you say in one word, I would say renunciation is a good word. It begins with the breath. You cannot hold your breath too long. You have to let go of your breath. You have to let go of everything in this world sooner or later. You have to let go of your children too. So, in doing so, you allow them to be the genius they can be. If you want your child to be like you, then the seed falls in the shadow of the tree. You get a little small plant like you, but they're not very big. So this is first understanding what loving kindness really means. You train your child as much as possible for 7 years. After that, the child is on his own. You let the child make his mistakes, be there to support him. I get a lot of parents are very worried about teenagers, They say, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, behind my back. I said, well, the important thing is you are always there to support them when they make mistakes. That's what they want you to do. You don't need to tell them anything. They will tell you they know everything. Whether they know or not doesn't matter. They're on their own. But you are there to support them when they need you. Because they're growing up. Then, of course, when they do make mistakes, you have to accept them. This is a second divine abode. This Brahma is very compassionate. He's very kind. So a father should be kind too. This is sometimes called a kind of motherliness. You see, this psychologist called Carl Jung, he says even a man must have a bit of motherliness in him. It's called the animus. You have to be a little compassion in Buddhism. You must have compassion, even the father, especially a father. So you have to forgive the son if he blunders, he makes mistakes. Because we all make mistakes. We all have been fathers before, we have been children before. So you have to forgive. This is a second quality. Just as Brahma would, the second phase of Brahma, compassion. Remember the definition of compassion, to be kind to others even when they do not deserve it. If you're kind to others because they deserve it, or you're kind to others because they've been kind to you, that's different. It's gratitude. Right? Someone does something good to you, you return the goodness. It's gratitude. It's a kind of social grace. It's good, yes. But compassion is really amazing. Someone has hurt you, you forgive this person, you help this person. This person doesn't listen to your own son, doesn't listen to you, but you accept. It's not easy. But if you can do that, you are truly a father, like Brahma, like God. And when your child is successful, you're happy. Of course, this is quite easy, right? You're very happy for this child, you rejoice. In fact, you can rejoice in the success and goodness of the child anytime. So this is the third quality. The fourth quality is the toughest, of course, equanimity, kind of balanced-mindedness. Okay, this child grows up, is on his own, then you don't have to worry about him anymore. Don't interfere in the marriage. The child is married, he's not married to you. You have to let go of the child. Okay? So you can see these four Brahmaviharas, it's just like a person, Buddha Gosha in it. Suddhimagga says, imagine a woman, a mother, is carrying a child. She's pregnant with a child. So she wants this child to be really safe and happy. The child's in the womb. I want this baby to be really happy. That's a mother's loving kindness. She loves the baby, has her own life. The baby is her life. That's loving kindness. Just as a mother would love her own child. Then the child is born, this little baby in the cradle. The baby cries at 4 a.m. in the morning. Mother immediately gets up and takes care of the child, no matter what time this baby cries. Baby comes first. It's number 2, husband. That's why I often advise my married friends. I say, well, make sure you know you're ready to have children, okay? Because once you have a child, your relationship will slightly be different. So do discuss this change in your lifestyle. So the mother would run to the child, take care of the child, compassion. Then the child grows up, this boy, very strong and healthy, running here, running there, or could be a daughter, running here, running there, very happy. And the mother looks at the child, she's cooking, she's very happy, she says, wow, look at my child, how much he or she has grown up. Mother's very proud, very happy, right? That is mudita. And then the child becomes a man or a woman and gets married. Now, a good mother will say, okay, good riddance, I've done my job. Now, he's married, he's on his own. Okay? That's equanimity. So there you are. Those are the 4 Brahmaviharas, the 4 divine abodes we must practice as parents, as mothers, as fathers. Okay? So that is a kind of extension of loving kindness. It begins with loving kindness and then it kind of progresses upwards. Okay, now I'm going to read to you this It's a short sutta, it's about just one page, on what I've just said. It's called the Sabramaka Sutta. I discovered the sutta just before the talk. It's very beautiful, and I thought just the right occasion for you. The discourse on one with God. Wow, sounds like some God-believing thing. Eh? Now, we Buddhists can talk in many ways, So don't have the idea that we believe in God. See, what the Buddha has done, he says, okay, you believe in God, but to us, it is godliness. It is right here in our heart. You don't have to worship it. We act it out. We live it. Okay, so this is the example. Sabramaka Sutta, A 3.31. Our parents are our creator. That's the theme. Okay, this is what the Buddha says. Bhikshus, those families where parents are honored by their children as their own, in their own homes, they are living with God or Brahma. Those families, bhikshus, where parents are honored by their children in their own homes, they are with the first gods. Those families, bhikshus, where parents are honored by their children in their own homes, they are with the first teachers. Those families, bhikshus, where parents are worshipped by their children in their own homes, they are with those worthy of offerings. Bhikshu, God, Brahma, this is an expression for parents. Bhikshus, ancient deities, Puba Devata, this is an expression for parents. Bhikshus, ancient teachers or first teachers, Pubbacharya, this is an expression for parents. Bhikshus, those worthy of offerings, Ahuneya, is an expression for parents. What is the reason for this? Bhikshus, parents have done much for their children as guardians, as nurses, as guides of this world. Then the sutta closes with 4 verses. Parents are God. They are called the first teachers and worthy of offerings from children, being compassionate to their generation. Therefore, they should be worshipped. The wise should honor them. Thus, with food and water, with clothing and bed too, by massaging and bathing them and washing their feet too. With such service as this, the wise render their parents. Even this life itself, they praise him, and hereafter too, he rejoices in heaven. So this is the Buddha's message to us. So on that note, I will end my talk here for Q&A. Okay?
Thank you. I enjoyed your talk. Okay, I ask for your response to you as a parent. In fact, I may ask from a very personal point of view. What happens if you have a parent and the mother has shown this unconditional love all her life, and the father seems to be totally negligent until the day he died? How should the son respond to such a situation?
Well, reality is so difficult, as we all know, right? Of course, the first thing, we can choose what to remember, what to recall. When we talk about loving kindness, we always say, remember the happy moments, the good times that you have spent with him. Especially if he is passed on, it's better to remember the happy things rather than the sad things, because he's no more around. See? And the fact that the mother is a good person, wow, that is great. Okay, of course, if you have both not exemplary, then you have greater difficulty. So, in a sense, you can see here, the mother has shown greater strength. So, in that sense, because of the father is a foil, we say. It shows, for example, Devadatta, show how good the Buddha is because of his action. So, in a sense, that's why we have compassion. We would like to hate Devadatta, right? But there are reasons why he behaved the way he behaved. Devadatta was over strict with many things. But then remember, The Buddha said, even this Devadatta who tried to kill me so many times, he will become a future individual Buddha. A person has no choice to be bad. In fact, given a choice, the person won't be bad. It is unnatural to be bad. It's suffering to be bad. People who are truly happy would not do bad. I mean, if you're truly happy, you wouldn't do bad. So people who do bad things, there's something they're very unhappy about. We do not know what it is. So in a sense, it is our weakness. We do not know what is this that is troubling him, and he's not telling. So we have to live with it. You see? That is why loving kindness is so important. You keep on sending this loving kindness until, we hear this story about this abusive husband who beats the wife every day, and then this wife goes to meditation every day, glum, not very happy, sitting down. Loving kindness also very glum, And then one day, this wife came and sat down in meditation, very happy, smiling. And the teacher asked, "You're so happy this time. What happened?" He said, "Well, my husband has changed. He stopped beating me. He's very happy. Now I got through to him." Because the husband asked him, "I've been beating you up, but you never got angry with me." He got tired of beating the wife up when the wife didn't respond. Then the wife said, "Well, because my teacher says, you're suffering, you're not happy. So you beat me up. So if that makes you happy, fine. Here I am, beat me up some more if you want." Then the husband broke down and cried, "I can't, I can't anymore, because you're just not responding. It's no fun." So he became a good husband after that, because of the wife's patience. Well, in this case, they both kind of had long lives. So if this can happen, it's wonderful, So we keep on sending this loving kindness to this suffering person out of compassion, because people have really no choice when they are suffering. It's a stupid thing to do, and they're caught in it. If they know what they're doing, they would get out of it. But they do not know. That's why we say ignorance is the cause of suffering. So I don't know whether that's enough for us, to understand this condition this man is in. Of course, it should be a lesson for us. Say, well, let me be a good example. That I should not mirror this kind of case. So I don't think this is a completely satisfactory answer, but as I say, it's a very difficult situation. But think about what I've said: compassion, about doing bad, having no choice, and you are really happy, you will not do bad things. Just think about this. And maybe you come to terms. The very important thing is to come to terms with this. And over time, it's always this coming to terms with such difficulties that make us a better person. I don't think my answer should uplift you and say, "Wow, okay, I've found the right answer." Now, this is a very, very difficult question. You need time to think about them. But these are some of the things you used to think about. Then one day you look at the situation and say, "Oh, I think now I understand what's going on here." So reflect on the situation, reflect on the 4 Brahmaviharas on this situation, reflect on the nature of good and bad. If you are happy, it is easier to keep the precepts. That's why with loving kindness, you need loving kindness to keep the precepts well. You need compassion to avoid doing bad things. All right? Okay?
Any more questions?
You can also ask general questions about Buddhism, not necessarily to this talk. No, just talking to it. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Brother Piya.
Yeah.
So last week I was hosting some guests, and this is a Westerner who was very in our Eastern traditions, particularly Hinduism and Buddhism. But she was sharing with me that she just couldn't reconcile a part of the Buddha's life story, because she said that in Buddhism we talk about being kind, being responsible, considerate, and all that. But she couldn't reconcile why the Buddha, at 30 years old, 35 years old, left the family after his wife has given birth to a young baby. So I was a bit stuck how to explain it to her, and I suppose that's because for people like ourselves who have been so accustomed and has developed some faith in the Dharma. So I was thinking about it for a while. How would you, if you were in my shoes, explain to this person who is thinking of this issue?
Okay, yeah. This is another of those very important questions. The Buddha is great because he made great sacrifices. I mean, imagine if the Buddha had lived a life, everything was perfect, right? He became enlightened and still married to Yashodhara and the son with him, sitting under the Bodhi tree, Yashodhara on the left and Rahula on the right, happy married husband and wife. It would be a different kind of Buddhism. It wouldn't be Buddhism, right? You have to understand a bit of psychology here. The struggle that Siddhartha went through, in a sense, you might see him as someone who is really mentally troubled, spiritually troubled. Remember Samvega? I mean, we see him like a bright young man. I mean, we're talking about someone who went through a lot of mental trouble, seeing suffering, unsure of himself. There is this big war going on in central India, and he doesn't want to get involved. He's terrified of all these wars. And his father wants him to take over. That's one problem. Next problem, he has all these women and he's sick of them. And then he sees the four sights. What kind of mind would you have when you see all that? Very difficult. Psychologically, it's really a tough situation. And then he has to deal with his child who is just born. What did he say in the stories? He says, "Oh, a fetter is born unto me." Right? In other words, now there's another hindrance for me to be free of all this, to find the truth. All right, that is the first explanation. Number two, he's kind of giving, we say the nature of renunciation, you don't really leave the family. It is the family is still your family, the parents are still your parents, except you do not have that intimate relationship as before, because you have moved into a bigger family, from biological family to a universal spiritual family. If the Buddha still had his family, he would just be a Sakya prince or a Sakya man, okay? But because he became Buddha, we can approach him anytime. Same thing with the meaning of renunciation. Why do we respect monks? One reason, the many reasons. One is he is available. He should be available anytime. So whenever he comes here, you will speak to him as you, not like the way you speak with anyone else. You feel safe, you feel comfortable, confident when you speak with a monk or a nun, because they are like parents to us. So renunciation is not really giving up the family, rather it is moving from a narrow conception of a biological family to this bigger spiritual family. So in a sense, all those, the wife and the sons are still part of his family. He did not reject them at all. He goes back to them. Number two, he did not leave them suffering. They were well taken care for by the family. The family are well-to-do. There are people taking care of them. And so in order to find this awakening that is going to free the world, he has to make a sacrifice. Every religious hero that you see, they make some kind of sacrifice. Others sacrifice their life, others sacrifice they go into some wilderness. But the Buddha has to leave his family. The Buddha is not just giving up Yashodhara and Rahula. He left his family so that he can understand what is it that is causing suffering to whole of mankind, and that you need a total dedication. It's totally free, so that he is now a parent. He is able to become like a father, like an advisor, a teacher, not just to his family, to all of mankind. That is why we are grateful to him, right? So a simple answer: if he's still married to Yashodhara and he still has Rahula by his side under the Bodhi tree, he wouldn't be so great. It is a sacrifice. Now, why do people react to certain aspects of the Buddha lives and not to others? Why do some people do, some people don't? This is a very good indicator we have issues with ourselves inside us. We have to ask ourselves, what is that issue is troubling us? Not with the Buddha. We ourselves have some issue about this story. This story about a man leaving his wife and child behind trouble us. Ask yourself, why? And you'll find your answer inside you. The Buddha story is just an indicator that the Buddha did it quite well, and he did it for our benefit. But if you have difficulty with this story, it is not because of the Buddha. It's because of the experience you have gone through inside you. You've got to find out what is the experience that's troubling you. Only you yourself will know the answer, and that's what the Buddha is addressing you. He's telling you, deal with your own problems, and you'll be happy. Okay? Sometimes it's not easy. You've got to, in a sense, challenge people. Why do you think like this? Examine it. You don't have to tell me the answer. But when you answer the question yourself, then you'll be happy. We all like to blame the Buddha. Very convenient. He doesn't answer back, But if you understand that what's happening in my life here, why do I take issue with certain things? Right? Then you begin to see it is how we perceive things. It's called perception. And then we know ourselves better. Okay? A short announcement, all right? Now, I have 3 books here. I hope you have them. This first is a simple book called Happiness, Here and Hereafter. Sigalo Vada Sutta is here. It's a free book. It's available in the outside. Okay? Or you can go to the counter. Number 2 is a whole book on Eightfold Path, because you're conducting classes. Everything is here. And the main book is this one, which I wrote recently, The Miraculous Life of Gautama Buddha. You went to Sunday school, you hear all those amazing stories about the Buddha. He was born, he could talk, could walk 7 steps. You begin to wonder how to believe them, right? So this is the kind of book that answers those problems. This book should be read with silver-based book, because the silver-based book deals with after the whole life of the Buddha. This one is in detail the early part, all the miraculous life. So this is the one, still available outside, either I think at the counter, right? Okay, so let me just do a short reflection, and then you'll go on. Yeah? Today we are gathered here for Father's Day to recall to mind the goodness that we are as human beings. It's because of our father and mother. They gave us a human body, they humanized us. So we are fathers to be. So some of us, our fathers are still alive. Then wish him well and happy. And make the aspiration to say something good, something that will be very happy to hear from you today or tomorrow perhaps. And if your father has passed on, this is the time to send your loving kindness to him, wishing him well and happy wherever he is. We have gathered today here, spent about an hour or so keeping all the 5 precepts, we recited the precepts. So this can be a reflection on moral virtue, sila anusati. We have kept the precepts well this period. And by the power of all this goodness we have done, may all this come to pass. And we have spent moments in peace and reflection, meditation. This also is part of the Buddha's teaching. And by this goodness too, may all these blessings come upon our Father and our loved ones, and upon you, all of you gathered here. Above all, by all this goodness that we have come across, that the Buddha's teaching is still with us, may we, by all this goodness, be inspired to at least consider aspiring to attain stream winning in this life itself, so that our life as Buddhists are meaningful, to head for the path of awakening in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.